So we have here a little presentation about, how do I get rid of that top thing? Your screen sharing.
Are we unmuted, Bob?
We are unmuted, yes, ma'am. Okay, yeah, we're unmuted. All right, anybody at home, if you're watching us, which Carl's the only one that we have up right now, and Carl is muted, so we're all set with that. So we're talking about classic New England foods. Now most of us have lived here in New England most of our lives. A lot of us have. Some of you have actually lived here in town most your entire life so far. I know I can see at least three right now that I know for sure. And so we have our unique foods that we have here in New England, and it's.
Bob, you gotta sit down so that we can see.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I will do that.
There you go. Turn your computer towards you.
Yep.
Oh, there. Okay.
That's a nice screen.
Yes, it is. We were donated this screen, by the way, folks. Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah.
Somebody was obviously getting one that was 10 times larger than this one in the house.
I'm trying to figure this. Oh, okay. Maybe this is how. So in New England here, I don't know how to get rid of the Carl over there. Poor Carl.
Don't.
Sorry, Carl.
Yeah, minimize. Oh, there you go.
Hi, Carl.
Underwater.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful, Carl, but unfortunately. So we have a whole bunch of different foods here, and which have quite a reputation. For some of them are better than others, of course. And of course, I didn't know it, but American chop suey is a New England dish. It was founded here in New England. And of course, the Yankee pot roast here in New England as well. Don't ask me where, because I don't know. Oh, there's our American chop suey. And the question that I have is, did you ever have it at school? Raise your hand if you ever had it at school. I never did because I went to the first elementary school that I went to was a neighborhood school, and we all went home for lunch. This was down in the big city of Worcester. And then partway through, I went to St. Paul's Elementary School, and we had a 1 hour lunchtime. And of course, it was downtown Worcester, so many of us wandered around the city of Worcester downtown at lunchtime.
Wow. You were allowed to be out of school?
We were out for about an hour, yeah. But we weren't allowed, of course, it's a Catholic school, and we weren't allowed to go over to the YWCA and eat at their cafeteria because that would have been scandalous back in the day. Yes. And of course, is there anyone who's never had Boston baked beans? If you've never had Boston baked beans, don't raise your hand because we don't want to embarrass you. But the thing is with that, the reason, the biggest thing about it is that they're slow cooked with molasses. All right, you can go other parts of the country and they have all kinds of different kinds of beans. Some of them have tomato, some have brown sugar, but we use molasses to ours. And of course, there was the big molasses disaster down in Boston in the last century.
B&M beans.
Brown bread. This is also a classic, and it's cornmeal and molasses and rye flour, and it goes very well with the beans.
Except the one I made tonight has wheat flour. It has wheat flour, white flour, and cornmeal, and molasses, of course.
Thank you.
Betsy, I didn't know you could make it. I thought you had to buy it. You had to take the top and the bottom and push it out.
It only came in a can.
It's very easy to make, really easy to make, and it's very good.
And it was B&M was making it out of Portland, Maine, so
Wow.
don't ask me where in Portland, but that's the information I got about it. And then, of course, I don't know how many of you,
Love it.
we used to have
Saturday night.
Saturday night
Saturday.
sup,
Yeah.
Franks and beans, or hot dogs and beans,
Yeah.
and brown bread.
That's interesting.
Oh, really?
Now,
Mhm.
there's other things that we've had here in New England. Can you see?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
I make a good window, not a door. Crab cakes, we usually think of crab cakes as the mid-Atlantic. You get down to Maryland and stuff, and you get all the crabs and stuff. But we have a lot of crabs here,
Mhm.
and some people even said I was kind of crabby at times. But
No.
But up in Maine, they get the cold water crabs as compared with the Maryland ones are warm water crabs. And they make great crab cakes. And of course, you don't have to be Irish to enjoy a boiled dinner, and
Corned beef.
a little bit of Guinness on the side is all right too. Now, here comes the controversy. Fried clams.
Yum. We
So-
had tartar sauce.
Yeah.
So Lawrence Chubby Woodman, he was up in Essex, and he was cooking at this little shack up there, and somebody came and asked him on a bet if he could fry them, and he did, and they're so good. Anyhow, so my favorite fried clams. I could eat them 6 days a week. Now, some people don't like these,
The bellies.
the strips, all right?
Oh.
And you remember the place that used to sell them all the time?
Howard
Johnson,
Johnson. Oh,
And I can remember going down to see my wife's relatives down in Long Island. And we stopped a couple of times in New Haven at the Howard Johnson's there. And they had an all you could eat.
Really?
Yeah, all you could eat.
Clam fry day.
Clam fry day, yes. And it was always on a Friday. And I think it might have been during Lent, but anyhow, so they're not rubber bands as a lot of people think. But they're made out from the larger quahogs. And then they just cut into strips and they batter them up and sell them. A lot of people like these over the whole belly clams because the whole belly clams, you might get a mouthful of sand
Oh,
once in a
yeah.
while. Not too often, but just once in a while.
And if you steam them, then you steam the clams and then you dip them in butter.
Oh, they're good too, yeah.
It's rid of the sand.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you're talking,
First, first to get rid of the
But-
sand. Get rid of the sand and then the.
But the bellies are.
you don't like the belly?
You always
My
like the
body
belly.
The best fried clam bellies?
I used to think it was the clams that weren't good to my body, but I think it was the dipping in the butter.
Oh, could be.
Right, so, we have the whole belly clams and they deep fried and battered.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then this is more a Rhode Island thing, and they do things different down in Rhode Island. They even talk different than people in other parts. Even my cousins in Connecticut don't talk the same way the Rhode Island people do. But anyhow, that's the Long Island influence of them. But these stuffies they're actually pretty good. Breadcrumbs, and they dice the clams and they bake them in the
In
oven,
the shell.
in the shell.
And they put.
Yeah, and you can get on a Market Basket or any of the other, a lot of places, and you can buy them frozen, put them in the microwave for a quick one, and you can, and they're pretty good. And then, of course, we have to have, again, Rhode Island, they have their clam cakes. I don't know if you've ever had them or not, but I can't remember the name of the amusement park that was down there that is now gone.
Rocky Point, maybe?
Rocky Point, yes. If you went down to Rocky Point, you could get these down there. They have them and they would, excuse me, you could get a pretty good serving of these things. And then clam chowder. This is another controversy.
Clear.
I didn't include Long Island clam chowder because they put tomato and other stuff in theirs compared to, yeah, the Manhattan. Anyhow, so the Rhode Island is a clear broth. So they don't put any milk in it or cream or anything like that. But most of us are used to having the real thing, as I call it. Chowder. All right, so you know, you gotta have all the rest of the stuff. And of course, people brought the Westminster common crackers to help with it today. And fish chowder is pretty good too. My parents lived down on the Cape for a bunch of years, and Corey and I would get down sometimes and visit. And on the way home, there was a place just over the Bourne Bridge that we'd stop in, and we would have either clam chowder or fish chowder on our way home from visiting my parents. And of course, these things, in another life, I drove a tour bus for 6 years, and I used to take a bunch of trips up to Maine, and I just had to show the people how to eat one of these things, because people from Texas had no idea how to eat any of these things.
Yeah, the crackers.
Yeah, the crackers and everything, and just how to eat the things. It was a terrible experience that I had to do, but I just had to do them. Now, the lobster roll has gained more and more prominence in the areas, and you see them advertised. The first thing in the spring, a lot of the places, even McDonald's sells lobster rolls. Okay, and there's two different kinds. Southern New England, they serve them warm with butter, and Northern New England, they serve them cold with mayonnaise. I don't know which your choice is, but
Both.
I would.
You like either.
I'll take the lobster itself instead. And of course, look what we have over there in that picture.
Wow, Wachusett.
Wachusett potato chips.
Oh, yeah.
So and then of course, we also have here in New England corn chowder. And of course, with Westminster crackers, you need to have Westminster crackers with those too. But and it's always best during the summertime if you can get some corn and cut the corn off of the
Lots of
Carbs.
butter and pepper.
butter and pepper.
Pepper.
Okay.
The butter theme with you.
And of course, nobody's ever seen this picture before. That's 1909, and that was in honor of the town's 150th anniversary. And we're very lucky to have had the Dolly family running it, and then we were lucky to have the other ones that took it over, and now I don't know who's running the show, but we still can buy them, and they still taste very, very good. Do they taste as good as they were when you were a kid?
Nope.
How about you, Phil?
Really?
I think they do.
You think they do?
They took the lard out. It's like Peggy Fennell with her homemade donuts that I stopped. She had lard in hers too. But the lard was taken out when it went to Vermont. And that was because the Dunn boy told me that they wouldn't be able to sell them with the lard, so they took it out and found something else. Some kind of shortening that would match, but the rest of the stuff, in fact, he has talked about at one of the historical society events, programs.
He spoke
came
at one of
and
the annual meetings
and
recently.
I was
Keith.
amazed that the ones that look like saltines are actually from the old factory over here. It was on a boat on its way to Asia, and they got it back. And that's when I had taken a tour up there. I had gone, he invited my mother and I, because he knew that I always stuffed them in my pocket. I'd go up and get the mail and paper for the people in the neighborhood. And on the way home, I would take and I'd stop in and there'd be warm crackers coming off and stuff them in my jacket pockets and eat them all the rest of the way coming back. But it was very cool. I don't know what happened to the oven, and he doesn't either, because I've asked him multiple times. You know, the circular oven that they put them in on, and by the time it came all the way around, the crackers were done.
All right, next we're talking about red flannel hash. My mother never made red flannel hash, but I know that a lot of families did. So what they did was they put some beets in instead of some of the potatoes, and ended up with this red flannel hash, and you know, put a couple eggs in it, and there's your breakfast. Yankee pot roast. So this is a classic of New England, and there are so many different recipes that people have. They make it their own way. So it's just a matter of taking it, putting it in the pot and cooking it up, adding whatever vegetables you want, and serving it up. It's usually they take a lesser cut of meat so that it gets more and more tender. Now, does anybody have any idea what that is?
Pork?
That's what it looks like.
Anybody have any idea what that is?
Well, it's not early New England.
This goes back to the 1930s.
Oh, the 30s. Well, that's pretty recent.
Is that
It's only
a
90
can
years old.
of Chinese
Chinese
noodles? No,
Oh,
the Chinese.
what was it, chow mein or
I
something?
hate that chow mein.
Oh, in the can?
I've never heard
It's
of
a
it.
chop suey
Chop
sandwich.
suey.
Oh.
Oh, in a can. In a can, there used to be.
No, it's not the can. There was a restaurant, restaurants down at Fall River, Rhode Island area, that it's pretty messy, but on the other hand too, it was quite popular. I don't know if it still is. I haven't been any place down there to find out, but yes, you need to stock up on the napkins before you start eating.
I get it.
I think
Just
maybe,
your version than sloppy joes, right?
that's right, that's the Rhode Island version of sloppy joe.
Wow.
Harvard beets,
I love Harvard.
so they're a little sweet and a little vinegary, and Harvard beets are a New England.
I never
Excuse
had
me.
pickled beets till I met
Yes,
my in-laws. I've never
I
had,
think the
I've
Harvard
only had
beets,
warm beets, not pickled beets.
I think the Harvard beets might be more like a pickled beet too.
No, they're creamy.
Okay, Parker House rolls, of course, the Parker House on Tremont Street in Boston. And of course, Dickens, Hawthorne, Longfellow, and the Kennedy clan all liked going there and eating the rolls.
Parker House.
Parker House. And of course, October 8th,
I did not know. I didn't either.
October 8th is Fluff Another Day. And if you go outside of New England, finding fluff is very, very difficult. We actually send some over to our daughter and the family, and we found out the first time we sent it over there, usually it flies through the mail flies over to Hawaii, and that doesn't hold up very well in the airplanes. So
It
we,
grows.
we put it at high altitude.
It grows.
And we did put it in a Ziploc bag, but now when we send it over,
Oh, it froze. Is that what
No,
you
no.
said?
No, no.
It grows.
Fans.
We had clothes and everything else.
Oh,
And it was all.
so if you're gonna ship it to somebody and if you're gonna ship it to somebody and you feel that it's gonna go on an airplane, what you need to do is to punch a hole in the seal,
Open the cover
take
first.
the cover, crack the seal, and then put it in a Ziploc bag, and it gets there without any incident.
We stood looking at the fluff last year, and a lady said, "What you thinking?" And Bob and I said, "A way to pack it so that it doesn't grow." And she goes, "I know exactly what you're talking about. It just
Did it
expands."
explode or break the jar?
No,
They're
well,
they're
I buy the
jars
plastic
now.
ones, not the glass
Oh.
jar. I don't do this, I do those over there.
Oh.
And she said,
It's big.
I learned that if you take the cover and put a hole in, she says, and now pressurizes it and it doesn't grow. And Bob says, I'm still putting it in a Ziploc bag.
Yeah.
So
But-
if you ever wanna try,
Sticky.
take some marshmallows and put them in your microwave.
Yeah,
And watch
they
what
do the
you
same
get.
thing.
Wow.
They grow.
And of
So
course,
they burn
what have they got?
afterwards.
They got Skippy peanut butter over there.
Oh, lived on that.
Skippy
College.
College. Is Skippy
Yes.
from New England?
I
Yes,
think so.
yes.
And of course, what are we gonna do without cider donuts?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we
Oh,
have
they're
our
delicious.
apple cider and our donuts and.
I saw somebody.
And this is a New England thing too. Coffee ice cream. And some people actually like it with chocolate chips, crushed Oreos, but not me. I'm having it straight out of the car. And there are places in New England that you can get coffee soft serve too. Well, a lot of them have the coffee soft serve. And this was one of my father's
My
favorites,
grandmother loved this.
Indian pudding. So with the molasses and the cornmeal-based New England pudding, and of course, vanilla ice cream or whipped cream or both. Maybe you could even put some chocolate sauce on it. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that top was gonna do that, but Hermit's, they're a spicy molasses flavored cookie with raisins, and they were popular with seafarers because they had a very long shelf life, so that the sailors would take them with them on their voyage so that they would have them. Joe Frogger's, this is a 200-year-old cookie, and they're a molasses infused cookie, and they were originally frog sized. Now, I don't know how big their frogs were, but so it would be like a lily pad for the frog to sit on. And they date back to colonial times. And of course, what do you do during the spring? Well, the early summer, you go out and get some blueberries. And what do you do with them? Well, you make New England, you make blueberry muffins, and other parts of the country now have decided that they like blueberry muffins as much as we do. And of course, the blueberry pie. Yeah, if you like,
Is
And-
that our official state dessert?
I think it's Maine's.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's Maine's,
Boston cream is
Official.
ours.
yeah,
Oh,
Boston
cream
cream.
pie, okay.
And cranberry sauce, of course, Ocean Spray was the largest place that did cranberries. And a lot of the cranberry bogs and stuff, I don't know why but they now do them in other parts of the country. I think up in Minnesota has more than we have here.
Yeah, we're number 2. I just heard that on one of these questions on the radio.
Michigan's #1, isn't it?
I think it said Wisconsin.
Oh.
I don't know.
So,
We're
up-
number 2.
But anyhow, Pat's aunt Peggy, if you were having chicken or turkey, she had to have her cranberry sauce with it.
And with orange, the
Yes.
orange peel.
I like it with orange.
Yeah, a lot of people like it with orange. She could care less which one, as long as it was cranberry sauce. Now, if you've ever been down to Rhode Island and you had somebody say, I'd like to have a cabinet, it's our version of a frap. And which is another version of a milkshake. So it's just a matter of the different names that we use for things. And of course, Rhode Island gets the claim to fame on the cabinet. And
Great.
the grape nut pudding. All right, and that was a comfort food here, the grape nut pudding. And heat it up and put a little ice cream on it.
What is it actually?
It's a cereal. You start with a cereal,
Oh,
Grape-
the
grape nut
nuts in the
cereal?
box Cereal?
Yes,
Oh,
that
okay.
box.
Yeah.
All right.
and you mix eggs and milk and,
And you custard.
Yeah, okay.
all right, so.
So is grape nut cereal made here in New England?
I don't know.
But grape nut pudding is first here.
Right.
And of course, whoopie pies are a New England,
Oh, I think.
they were founded here in New England. And don't admit it if you've never had one. I've had more than a few. Does anybody know what that is?
Hot dogs?
The
Fenway's.
inside of
Pretzels.
Quinn's Wedding?
Fenway Franks.
This is a New England thing. Well, other places call them sprinkles, but in New England, we call them Jimmy's. And they were, Brigham's Ice Cream did this back in 1914,
Oh, yeah.
the Jimmy's.
Yeah.
Of course, it's Thanksgiving, so we have to have this stuff.
That is New England.
And Massachusetts is where it began. William Bell began the seasoning in Boston, and the ships would come in from all over the world, and he made his Bell seasoning. And it doesn't have any salt in it either. Yep. Never did and doesn't now. Now, table talk pies. My father knew Theodore Toner, and from my father, of course, grew up down in Worcester and was around when they first started table talk pies. And they would make the pies at night, and then they would bring them out and sell them the next day. So, and that founded in 1924. Back in the last century. And down in New Haven, Connecticut, Lewis's Lunch Hamburger. This is credited with being the hamburger sandwich. And he put it between two slices of toast. And the last sentence, condiments were forbidden, don't ask. So if you ever get down to Lewis's Lunch in New Haven, Connecticut, don't ask for ketchup because you're not going to get it. They'll probably throw you out. And our cheese has been around for centuries, but I had to put in Cabot's cheese. Because I think probably almost all of us have had at least a few pounds of it. I probably eaten a couple of 100 pounds of it.
Real cheese.
Real cheese, yes. And who doesn't remember this one?
Oh, yes.
Prince Spaghetti Day, Wednesday. Now, this is another one, a Rhode Island thing. I don't know, Rhode Island, they have quite a few interesting things. Dell's Lemonade, and what they ended up doing is it's frozen lemonade, that's all it is. And nobody had done it before Dell's came along and decided to freeze the lemonade. And I don't really need to say anything about this place because we have one right across the street. But I don't think they actually make the original Dunkin' donut. Does anybody remember the old Dunkin' donut? Had a little handle
Oh,
on it.
yes, yes, yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
The handle was a part of of the donut?
Yes.
Yes,
Hood's milk, yes.
golden eggnog.
Good. Little vodka.
I'm going, I'm going to your house.
All right.
Nowadays, almost all the recipes you find to make your own eggnog involve taking and cooking it because they all have to be pasteurized.
Yeah.
But I remember my mother bought a blender one time and she made the best eggnog ever right there in the blender, and there was no cooking involved. So we just had, she just put the eggs and the cream and the spices in it, and I was too young, she wouldn't let me drink the rum. But and nowadays, you know, you've got all these flavors that you can get. It's amazing.
Ranch dressing has just come out with ranch nog dressing. That's what I heard it on the radio there. And that's what I said. And I'm there, how can you put an eggnog type taste into ranch dressing? That was today.
Go buy one, Bob, we'll try it.
I don't even know where you'd find it.
Well, I was in the store. I didn't see the pumpkin, but I did see I don't know if I saw the golden, but most of those other ones were available.
What's the difference between the one in the middle and the one on the
It
left?
says limited edition.
But it
It's-
says golden eggnog, so the other one's like golden.
I know.
They do
Just a
different
container?
spices in it,
Oh.
okay? Excuse me. Now, I have seen Humpty Dumpty potato chips, but the reason I left that one in was because they make sour cream and clam potato chips. I would love to try them. If I ever, the next time I get up to Maine, I'm going in the stores and see if I can find Humpty Dumpty potato chips. And then they have an all dressed one, which I have, which is barbecue sauce, ketchup, salt and vinegar. So, it sounds terrific. I'd love to try one, especially the clam ones. What about you? You want to try the clam ones too?
No belly.
Yeah, no belly.
Right.
They're potato chips. Now you go to the store, you see Ken's Steakhouse dressings. Well,
They're good.
back in the day, the Hannahs had a restaurant down in Framingham, and people said, you know, we love your dressing, and they finally licensed the company to use their name, and that's when Ken's Steakhouse dressing was
I just saw they were.
created online to be able to sell it. You saw what?
That they're
just
closing the Hilltop Steakhouse.
Yeah, this is the Hilltop. This is in Framingham.
Yeah.
That's a picture of Hilltop Steakhouse and Saugus.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yes, you're right. You're right. That's the
Oh,
Hilltop.
That's been closed for a while.
He had the Hilltop too.
Couple of years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's close quite a while.
They sold the
Oh,
cars.
maple syrup.
I don't think I need to say much about maple syrup because it's just maple syrup.
The real thing.
The real thing, yes. Anybody ever not had these, the maple candies? They're just absolutely delicious.
They're in your Christmas stocking.
They are? Oh, I can't wait for Christmas if you put them in my stock.
My sister came from Indiana recently and she had a hard time finding some things. Like, maybe they make them with another ingredient or they make them without a certain ingredient. But she was like, they're not, I feel, you know, she had a hard time finding the flavor.
You're not really gonna find them in a place like Market Basket or something like that.
No,
You're gonna
go
find
like
them in a little
country
mom and-
store.
A little mom and pop place like over at the world famous legendary and haunted Ashby Market.
Oh, yeah?
They're over there.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They're not cheap by any means, but
Yeah, that's true. You probably can get them at the Boston airport, right?
I don't know. Maple walnut ice cream.
Oh, is that a new?
So that's a New England thing too. I wouldn't touch it because I have always disliked walnuts. I will tolerate them slightly recently, but most of the time it's
He's missing out on something good.
no walnuts for
The
me.
rest of us,
That's
yeah.
right. That's when you stick the walnuts in the
No,
brownies.
the walnuts, no.
Right.
The maple ice cream
That's
is great.
exactly right.
And
Right.
And a lot of times you'll find some of the little ice cream stands will have maple ice cream with not just maple walnut, but they'll have just plain maple. And that I've seen it in soft serve
Ooh,
as
really?
well.
Wow.
In Vermont. Scally bread. Well, the Scally family down in Boston made the Scally bread, and that's been pretty popular. You go into the stores and you find it almost anywhere. And the picture is from Roma's Bakery in Woburn. So, I mean, we look at the Italian breads and that's a New England favorite.
Ooh. Lost topping.
I don't think I need to say much about this. Anybody that's never had it, I don't know if there's any left out. Mike, there any left?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Quarter is still there.
okay, so it's almost like having an eclair.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
why did they call it pie? It looks more like a cake.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a pie in cake's clothing.
Oh, okay.
Okay. It's golden sponge cake, pastry, cream, and chocolate ganache. And of course, it's a New England favorite. And it's, when I was younger, we would some Sundays after church, we'd run down to Water Street, Worcester, because I grew up in Worcester. You get on to Water Street and we'd buy the bulky rolls. And what you do is you go in and they were hot and they would put them in a paper bag. Of course, you could never get 12 of them home. It all depended on how many people you had in the car, how many you actually got home. But the bakeries down there on Water Street, the Jewish bakeries, would have the Boston cream pies and all kinds of other interesting stuff in their cases. And of course, the Necco company is out of business, but they have sold it off to Spangler Candy in Ohio, and they're still available here in Massachusetts.
My great aunt was a nurse at Necco.
She was,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, Cambridge, yeah.
That, from what I understand, when they were in Cambridge, if you went down there, you could go into their seconds area and you could buy like 5 pounds of them for $1.
Yeah.
It was really cheap,
Broken ones, yeah.
really inexpensive, I should say. And of course,
Roxy.
some of us do indulge in Maine's strength of moxie.
Not many of you though.
Yes.
Hair on your chest. That's what my father used to say. Don't drink
He just didn't want you drinking it because he was saving it.
Yeah, I just want to put whiskey in it.
So, not terribly long ago, my son was there with his wife at my house, and I keep soda down in the cellar, and I would buy it when it was on sale, and I would have a whole bunch of different sodas on the cellar. And of course, I would have Moxie down there too. And he says to his wife, he says, I'll go get you a soda. What kind do you want? She says, oh, just get me anything. I think you know the rest of the story. He did bring another kind of soda up for her as well. One that she would drink.
Motor oil.
One day we were driving down the road and I had one in the cup holder in the car, and I won't mention any names, but she was thirsty and she went and grabbed it and drank some.
It's disgusting.
She was thirsty. So,
I don't know if I even had it.
so we're glad you came to the annual meeting. We hope you enjoyed yourself. And I hope you enjoyed all the foods. We have terrific. Thank you all for bringing all the different things that we have here. And if I didn't get your favorite, unfortunately, I'm sorry if you have something that, a New England one. Okay, I'm not talking about,
How about that candy that they call Boston baked beans?
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I don't know.
I've seen, yeah, it came in a little box,
Little box,
Yeah.
yeah.
like,
Red.
Yeah, they were kind of
Yeah.
red. I think there's a nut in
Yeah, that's.
I think I tried them once and I didn't like them, so
there.
I just assumed have Reese's peanut butter cups.
M&M's.
Yeah.
M&Ms, yeah.
I think you covered all of them. I can't think of any others.
What's the story with frozen pudding ice cream? Is that a New England thing?
I have the slightest idea.
Frozen pudding.
Yeah.
Frozen, my mother used to like frozen pudding.
Yeah, my mother did too.
It's
Yep.
my favorite ice cream.
They would like,
Never
they
had
got
that.
frozen pudding.
Was it one of Howard Johnson's 28 flavors?
I don't, it might have
think
been.
so.
It might have been one of them. Howard
I
Johnson.
I think it was.
Was it?
Might have been.
That and rum raisin.
I don't know. I think
Rum
that's
raisin,
just
yeah, rum
picture,
raisin.
yeah, no.
And I didn't like rum raisin either because I didn't eat raisins. I didn't like raisins. I didn't like the taste of them. My
You
mother
missed
said
out.
when I was a real little kid, before I was 5, I would eat raisins by the case. But then after, that was it. No
Ice
more,
cream now.
no more.
That's like me, my parents would, I used to like black olives when I was little, we'd go to, what was that restaurant, like Pier 1 or Pier?
They're four.
Pier
Anthony's
4,
Pier
on Anthony's Pier 4, the popovers.
Oh, yeah.
But I used to eat black olives.
I put them on my fingers.
Yeah.
Still do.
I'm a school teacher, kindergarten.
Oh, boy.
The black ones, yeah.
Well, thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
Good
Thank
presentation.
you for getting us together.
No, it's not, well, yes, thank you for coming, yeah. Yeah, because you're right, I made a special call to you,
Yeah.
to your husband.
Thank you.
So we do have more desserts and more food and more and coffee and,
There's coffee in the kitchen.
anyway, yeah, we have coffee in the
Cups on
kitchen.
the cupboard.
So please help yourself.
I'll tell you about
We have to use
For
this
sure.
one.
Thank you, sir.
Howard Johnson
Thank you.
exhibit is Howard Johnson.
And I'm going to,
The whole room to it.
Like,
I
Pharaoh's
see it.
called